Welcome everyone to another low-level relative distortion check here live on this channel. I noticed in the media there is some worldwide media circulation of, hey, Google, the latest and greatest Canadian C++ conference there, where Chandler Kurth, sorry for the pronunciation, presented Google's science experiment. They named also, yeah, so I should mention, so allegedly they worked on technical lead Google programming language, software foundations, extensively C++ programming languages, Clang, LVM compiler infrastructure. Previously they worked on several pieces of Google's distributed build system, and okay, there is more. And so that's Google. I wasn't there, so I want to anyway give you my thoughts of what I've seen. So there are some slides. I didn't find a video yet, maybe they're somewhere, but it doesn't even whatever he said on this video might be a little bit preoccupied here. But I want to say one very important thing, which probably I said already a couple of times, which is stop this not invented here syndrome. Stop reinventing the wheel. We have already 20, 30, 100 programming languages, yes, including Fortran and Java and stuff. And so what did they do? They did here, allegedly to the headline here, of have been working with a few folks on new science experience on redneck engineering of programming languages. And so let's take a quick look there. Rust works for you today, you should use it, but moving a C++ ecosystem to Rust is hard. It's like, yeah, programming is hard, right? We got this previous video. Also, sorry for the drop frames recurring. Vodafone's failing DOCSIS infrastructure here. So they have there an experiment called Carbon. Goal is performance critical software and language evolution, code that's easy to read, understand and write, practical safety, practical safety, fast and scalable development, modern OS platforms, hardware architecture and environments. And for the most important thing I want to say is we have been there, we have done that, right? There is Rust. Yes, Rust is not ideal. Also, why is Rust hard? Rust is, well, except sure, Rust is not, everything is not perfect. There were 12 competing standards, now there are 13 or 100. And most importantly, stop reinventing the wheel, right? All of these goals also apply to Rust, except Rust has more real safety and not practical safety. And many of the slides, I'm not sure if these are all slides, could be only some of the slides. New language, introduce keywords, something. Also the slides, right, mostly empty, and just like basically a startup sales pitch presentation of, hey, here's one sentence pointer, provide indirect access, something. I mean, basically, it doesn't even, first of all, the slides do not even show that much. There is not like here, there's this, the biggest selling point is probably Carbon interoperability. Also, it's a little bit funny that Carbon is the same code name of Apple's old Carbon stuff, of Apple can see runtime of where is even here of their old C-based application programming interface of Apple for Mac OS there, which is a little bit like, if you come up with some new stuff, at least choose a more, it's like, yeah, good luck googling for the stuff, right, and always finding all the Apple, like decade-old Apple references. I mean, yeah, but so the biggest point is, for me, it doesn't even matter the most how clean, more amazing, all the drop frames. Oh, I can't make this stuff up. Okay, fine, I need to live stream over LT. But the biggest, this is basically hurting the whole industry, right? How many languages do you want? As you see here already, also here's a slide, contrast ratio here. C++, also people in the comments like, C++ still, people still think C++ is an improvement over C. Yes, it is. And I'm not even biased. I did C, I kind of grew up into C. I did C++ for a long time. I'm totally aware that C++ is not amazing and perfect. But what code is perfect, right? Previous video. So we have C, C++, maybe something of that sort. Also, yes, D, this is simplified, right? There's also D, there's also other stuff. ironically, they even don't have Go on this chart. Theoretically, theoretically you could say, how was it even, like more like C to Go and C++ to Rust or something, but even this slides. We have hundreds of languages, and so that even these slides are not easy, right? Totally, this is also silly in my opinion, that they list JavaScript here, because JavaScript is like totally different class of languages. But there's JavaScript and TypeScript, which again is silly. It would more sense to list D and Go here on this slide, and C# than JavaScript. I mean, then you would also need to list Python, Ruby, and Perl and stuff. But anyway, Objective-C to Swift, of Apple's transition, right? For you, those who don't know, JavaScript is Apple's language C extension, Objective-C extension, that is as old as predating Apple, as in Steve Jobs next. So Apple has this transition from Objective-C to Swift. Java, Kotlin, maybe, I don't know, I'm not that much into Java programming to know. Leave me in the comments below how many people really transition to Kotlin, but maybe C++ too, yeah, question mark. Obviously the answer is mostly Rust and Go. So we have a language, domain-specific language space of hundreds of languages, including Ada, Fortran, and all the other good stuff, and C# and so on. And Google has nothing better to do than, like, do we not have other challenges in this world, like a freaking burning planet and stuff, than inventing yet another programming language? And sorry, the biggest problem I have is this: we have already a totally incompatible space of frameworks and languages. If you are on C++, you can't easily use Rust stuff, and like basically we're also reinventing all the framework for crypto and all the other surrounding I/O and network access and all the other, and also more complex, like, let alone not even a freaking standard for graphic 2D, 3D programming and stuff, except like sure OpenGL and Vulkan, but then all the other platform specific stuff. Heck, even on freaking Unix systems, aka nowadays Linux or beasties, we don't even have a freaking, I mean, not only X11 and Wayland, but also for freaking UI toolkits like GTK, Qt, Fox, and what else is there, and for sure a ton of others. So what I want to say is, we are stuck with IT recurring criticism of our own stuff. Like, it's basically like you would build any other machinery, not to come up here with some car analogy, but like you build anything like houses or electricity systems or any other stuff you would build, like mechanical, like woodwork or whatever, and everything is incompatible. You can't like take one security framework, except if it's written in C, then usually stuff has C compatibility, but you obviously, for all the security and unsafe code, you don't want to reuse C libraries, right? If you will have a safe Rust language, you don't want to ruin your safe experience with some good old C codes. That recurring theme is full of those bugs. And that is a problem, right? And just because Mozilla Lab started with Rust, also Rust, a decade ago, right? Instead of reusing a decade of experience of Mozilla and all their friends and families, which also, sure, Mozilla has fired all the Rust, or most of the Rust people, and they have now their own Rust Foundation stuff. But they grew certainly a pretty well respected group of Rust developers. And instead of basing on a decade of thousands of world-renowned IT computer science people, seriously, Google has nothing better to do than start in 2022 or some years ago, start a science experience, just because not invented here syndrome of all the big companies. And that's not only Google, right? After Apple did Swift, which is not even the most amazing, and Mozilla did Rust, which most people agree is sure not perfect. I'm of course one of those who say Rust has problems, but at least it's safer and quite established. What is wrong with freaking Google and their employees, except wasting all the money? Do they all need a pet project, right? Normally in the industry, you would never say, hey, let's reinvent the freaking wheel again, just because we can. You would reuse what is already there, like Rust. And Rust, with all my criticism, is probably more perfect than Carbon today, because not only is it in its infancy, they also have practical safety, which even they write here on their GitHub page, that safety, safer fundamentals in incremental path towards memory safety subset. What that means is they are not memory safe today. They might work on memory safety in the future. And in my opinion, in 2022, especially if I would do this in my basement, right? Okay, then sure, it's a nice to-do list. But if a Fortune 500 company at the forefront of IT and technology, that is Google or Apple, do something in this day and age, and it's not like memory safe from the beginning, then what are you even doing, right? And obviously we have learned from C++, if you are so compatible that memory safety is an incremental optional path in the future, you will never reach it, right? People will not use it, and people will not adopt it. You always have so much legacy code, and so total opportunity wasted here. All the other stuff, I wouldn't even, this doesn't even look similar to C++. And I also, if I would be Google, I would have rather spent this energy in making a saner, as much as you can make C++ saner. By the way, have inside knowledge. I know people who attended the ISO meetings, which, by the way, spoiler alert, I'm personally attending the some PDF working group meetings, as I probably mentioned a couple of times. So I know how those ISO meetings work, like not other random people who do not know this process. And I have first-hand, is it first-hand or second-hand hearsay? So I heard from people who attended the ISO meetings that Google always pressed, Google and Microsoft for this matter, I think both, pressed a whole lot of stuff into the ISO C++ standards that a lot of people didn't want to have there, but just because it's Google and Microsoft, it ended up in there, right? So much to, we need a cleaner start, like, yes, thank you, Google, maybe you should not have pressed then all the random garbage into the C++ standards that you have advocated for years, according to what I've heard from people who attended those ISO meetings. And so this doesn't even look very C++, right? So you can't even mix and match this code easily. Sure, they advertise here like toll-free compatibility with C++. Where do they have compatibility, perfect, backward and forward compatibility and stuff. But this is not even the most important stuff. I would actually also argue, so 3 major things. Stop reinventing the wheel. Stop this not invented here syndrome illness. If you have the symptoms, go to some psychologist or something. Take a holiday. I don't know. Learn some musical instruments and enjoy your life or stuff. Second, so what was the first not invented here stuff? Second, improve other people's stuff. Like, instead of reinventing the wheel here for a language nobody asked for, nobody really wants, very few at least really want, just work together with the freaking industry and make Rust C-bind gen better. Like, how much better could have been Rust interoperability if those people working on this probably mostly useless Carbon language here would have put this energy into Rust and make Rust better, make Rust language bindings better. There probably was also a third point that are probably whatever. That's certainly the most important stuff. Maybe I should have written 3 points down before. But yeah, so this is so disappointing. And for me, the most annoying thing, I have already the challenge, right? Our language, not only do I run the Linux distribution, I mean, some of the stuff, and that's not even all, right? There are even so many more languages, some of which are even looking quite good. For example, there is Zig. There are so many. There's also Nim. I mean, not that Zig and Nim are the most amazing languages, although Zig looks quite good. But there are so many freaking languages. Can we just freaking stop? I would actually argue, sure, we need some languages, for example, for quantum computing or stuff. But for like regular, good old-fashioned microprocessors, we don't need such kind of language. Sure, I would actually argue, I said so many times, I really wonder that we are not at a path in computer science, or obviously I do this for 25 years now, or first as a hobby, then university, and now running a company. And I've seen so much, and I would actually, I really wonder, I mean, there are even so many more languages like Haskell and other, and I really wonder that we still write code so in such an imperative way, and not like more like math formula of like for graphic operations, like more functional, declarative, and like letting the compiler actually figuring out the kind of loops and steps, and writing code more formal and more like math formula functional way. And yeah, that is crazy. And for me, so our products, I said this a couple of times, even those products use sorry. Did this even stop now? This bloody virus is no fun, but I also can't not do any videos. So even our products use multiple languages, right? We have some frameworks, unfortunately, in C. Obviously, oh, why is this dropping frames? Like, how is this dropping frames so much? It's so ridiculous. Oh man. No docs the streams anymore, especially with this heated streets. So even in our software, we use multiple languages: C, C++, Objective-C, Swift. Some of our own choose even Lua for some reasons, because it's actually quite a good language. And you see so many languages, including Lua, not mentioned here, right? And for us, it's already a nightmare. Sure, in the meantime, we probably should get rid of all Objective-C code, but this all costs time and money, right? You don't just port all your hundreds, thousands of lines of good old Swift Objective-C code to Swift or something. And then also, so even if you are on one platform, it's a huge nightmare. And then if you support multiple platforms, think iOS and Android, it is even more of a nightmare, right? How many languages, and not even native UI stuff, but also languages you have to deal with. And so this is becoming such an unbelievable mess that it is really hard to work, support, debug, and basically, yeah, we create ourselves. This is not progress, right? This is only waste of human resources, and also in the future creating, I mean, I probably personally don't even expect this carbon to become particularly successful, hopefully, but if it becomes, if for example, if Google uses it in Chrome for some reason, and this open source Chromium, or in Android, they also have Fuchsia with some other stuff. And yeah, you have even more languages, right? If you just look at Fuchsia, and they use Dart and whatnot. This is not even the right here. If I would have internet. So C++, even there, Google already uses C, C++. Actually, are not the Go inventors also employed at Google? Yeah, so much to doxes. Internet. C, C++, Dart, Go, Rust, Python's, like, yeah, basically. And there you see the interoperability and maintaining code, right? And frameworks. This is also why I start to be more active on YouTube, because like running a company and having to deal with all the hashtag peak bugs on macOS, right? Not even macOS works anymore. Plus Windows works even less anymore. Then Google is creating a total mess with everything they touch. And this is rather, I see huge problems, right? Not only, we had a lot of not amazing code, so our operating system already built on a foundation of pretty bit-rotten C code from the 70s and 80s and original Unix, but also DOS and Windows, 16-bit Windows, and stuff still, certainly in Windows 95 and Windows XP, even more so in Windows 10 and 11, probably a little bit less of this vintage code, but even still, some of this old Windows 16 or even early Windows code not as safely programmed as today's programming standards. And this is why we can't have nice things. So this is why we have security issues and peak bugs, right? Even Apple sitting on this incompatible mess of C, C++, Objective-C, Swift, and it's like, yeah, if you're wondering why does everything peak bug, has bugs, security vulnerabilities, and I really have big question marks for the future, right? What should the future of information technology, of computer science be with this incompatible mess of everyone inventing their own Kool-Aid? I'm sick of it, right? I'm really sick and disappointed. And more people on the news only, yay, Google, Windows, Google, yay, Apple, yay, Microsoft creates a new language. It's like, hello, question mark? Any reality check, any critical thinking left there at your working with code and stuff? Anyway, I hope you found this useful. Sorry for the internet and the code-related coughing here. I hope that improves in the future. Leave me your thoughts in below. I hope you found this interesting and learned something. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. And you're looking to your comments to tell me what you use. Leave in the comments below. What languages do you use? What languages do you think suck? For what reason? And what languages would you like to use more? And how do you see the future of this programming languages as invented by big tech there? Anyway,